Well, a little bit of a well-deserved week off for Wayne last week, but he's tired. He has lots of work to get done. A busy weekend outside of Calgary, Alberta. Wayne Kosior joining us tonight on Wayne's World. Wayne, thanks for taking the time. Let's talk. 300 kids, over 300 kids all weekend. Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. Give us some of the details for yourself, Trailblazer Hockey Advisors, and what the weekend looked like these past 96 hours.
Sounds great, Theo. Good to be with you. And yeah, it was a great weekend this weekend. Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp in Calgary. Terry Braun and his crew does a great job running that showcase out there. And of course, Amateur Sports TV was there broadcasting the games live. Both arenas, play-by-play provided, which is a great addition to the camp this year. I know a lot of the players and scouts absolutely love that. So that was great. There was a lot of great hockey players there spread out over the 3 days, Friday afternoon through Sunday. So watched a lot of hockey games, talked to a lot of parents. We were the MVP game sponsor, so got to present a nice little Trailblazer hockey package to all the MVP of each individual game, and met some great people. Had some great chats, and so just an overall an awesome weekend. Even though it was tiring, very very productive and very enjoyable.
Give us a sense. From a player standpoint, watching it from the stands, where did you see, players really show their best talents? How were they effective in showing an advisor or showing scouts or potential organizations that they are a really good fit for their prospective club?
Yeah, well, we've talked numerous times on this show about the scouting for intangibles. And I mean, absolutely, the intangibles are critical. You've got to show that. And I think too many players forget that. And, I personally witnessed many incidents where they were not showing the right things from an intangible perspective. And again, just to refresh our viewers, that's kind of some body language, how you act on the bench, your leadership, kind of your work ethic and stuff. So again, too many players think of showcases as just kind of go out there and goof around a little bit, but that's not going to show well for you. And certainly, I did see a lot of elite players out there, and in some cases, it almost looked like they thought they were too good to be there, and they showed that in their body language, and that's a terrible trait to show. Now that said, a lot of the young kids I thought were really showing their best. Working hard in more cases than some of the older guys. And I think that's just due to that. They're not taking it for granted. They know they're playing older guys. They're going to have to work their butts off. And frankly, that's what those 03s and 04s, the older players there needed to do. They have to show that they can completely dominate those 05 and 06 and 07 players. And in some cases we did see that, but in a lot of cases we didn't.
You bring that up. Because the teams were all picked, and it's not random, but there are some, for the most part, players playing on a team, they know no one on that other squad. They're all over North America. These 03s have to show that they are ready for the next level because they're at their, I want to say, their senior years, if you will. But these 06s, were they able to, muck it up, grit it up, put some dangles on some of these older players and maybe kind of turn your head a bit, Wayne, and say, maybe I should have a look at this guy.
Oh yeah. I won't name any names for obvious reasons, but absolutely, not only 06s but 07s. There were some outstanding 07s there that could dangle and stay with the best of the 05s and 04s, and there wasn't that many 03s there, but still, these kids weren't scared of anything, and they had some high-end talent and skills and abilities. And I just wish some of the older players would learn from that. And if there's any message I can leave to any players that may be watching, that if you're a part of the older group, you got to really be leaders. And, frankly, you should be able to dominate those younger players. And if you can't, that's not a good showing. And certainly the scouts that are in the stands, and there were many, many scouts in the stands, they're going to be thinking exactly the same as I am. Again, they're going to more like the younger guys because they're the guys that are, showing better than those older guys. So that's definitely a key takeaway for players.
Do scouts organizations take into account that this is the end of the season? Some of these players have played 20, 30, 70 games. This is the end of the road, so to speak, for the season. But does that just show the resilience? Does that show that, their preparation is still intact? Because, in speaking with a lot of the players that were involved in the camp, a lot of them weren't able to click and choose all the camps they wanted to be a part of, and they chose this particular one. Does that, affect their showing as well, knowing they've played such a long, tenuous year, plus not having a year prior to.
Yeah, all good points, Theo. And my perspective on that would be absolutely. There was a lot of kids there that I could tell were bagged, a lot of bagged parents too. And the lesson out of that is you don't need to go to every single showcase. You don't need to go every single tryout that you get invited to. You really got to be picky and choosy, and the ones you go to the right ones. You don't need to see by the same scout multiple times necessarily at multiple showcases and stuff. And you got to look after your body and your rest and your recuperation. It's a part of the conditioning process. Good sleep, good nutrition, and stuff. And I suspect some players, maybe just burnt out, too many camps, too many weekends in a row. You're sleeping in a hotel, and if you're not sleeping great, and your meal routine is out a little bit because you may be playing at 7:30 in the morning. Some of the games were starting, or you may be playing at 9 o'clock at night. But ultimately, it's your player. If you want to be an elite player in junior hockey, you got to learn how to adjust your body and be able to time your pregame meals to match your schedule and stuff. So, a little bit of all those things. But again, there was a lot of people that really performed unbelievably there. So they were obviously doing the right things. And so maybe they went to the right amount of camps. They looked after their body and their sleep and stuff the right way. And, kudos to those guys.
Absolutely. Last question before we move on. What do you do next now? I mean, from an advisor, what is your job to do for these players? What is their job potentially for the remainder of this second season, the off season, the after playoff season, maybe?
Yeah, no, from an advisor perspective, I'll speak to that, I guess, first of all, is that certainly we engaged with a lot of players and families there. There's a number of them there that were very interested in our services. We're discussing contracts with many of them. And of course, what we're going to do is we're going to be basically developing a profile on these players, developing a highlight video that can be used to market them. That's absolutely critical in today's world. And we're going to try and match out based on their skills and abilities and where their pathway should take them, what teams we should be reaching out to at which levels to market that player and try find the appropriate fit. So again, that's the value that a advisor can provide families. And of course, we have a much better idea of where the fits may be. We certainly have the relationships with the organizations. And, it's pretty hard for a family just to reach out to a number of organizations on a cold call and try and position their kid. And especially if they don't have a video, they wouldn't have credibility with the organization. So it's challenging. But that said, I mean, players and families can do that if they're willing to put in the effort and stuff. And, so that would be my message to any players and family that don't have an advisor working for them is that, they've got to get to work right now, because now is the time when a lot of signings are happening. As they come out of these camps, these teams are probably committing to 75% of their team at least. So when you're going to a fall camp, I mean, you're competing for, maximum probably 5 spots on that team. The other ones have all been committed here, at this time of the year. So, you got to just be reaching out to the right teams, promoting yourself professionally, have that video, and, work with those teams to get you a spot.
I noticed, Wayne, on some of the highlights this past weekend, our show has been showing up on the Jumbotrons in some of those rinks. What was it like watching what you said in previous episodes? And did you notice or get any feedback from what ASTV was doing there for the current weekend that was just passed, but as well, highlighting and showcasing the do's and the don'ts of, progression in their hockey career?
Yeah, well, first of all, I never thought I'd see you and me on a big jumbotron in a big arena and stuff like that. But you look as good on a big jumbotron as you do here on the small screen and stuff. So it was a great job. It was kind of interesting and stuff. And I think I got some double looks from some people, and they kind of go, "I think I've seen that guy somewhere." But I think it's because they see it on the pregame show. We were up there on the jumbotron, but that was good. And then as far as feedback, I mean, I got phenomenal feedback from some of the players and parents that I talked to about your broadcast. Is that there was sometimes the mom or the dad couldn't make it, or there's the aunt and the uncle or the grandpa and the grandma that couldn't make it. They were really enjoying watching the show, and I mean, great feedback on the play-by-play. You guys had some top-notch play-by-play guys that do AJHL play-by-play games and stuff. So these just guys weren't amateurs and stuff, and so some really good comments on that. And I think there's really good feedback from the scouting community and stuff too. Those that couldn't make the journey to the showcase we're able to actually just watch the games live, hear the play-by-play, and keep an eye on some players that may be on their radar. So, again, a fantastic addition to the showcase. And the last little thing I'll mention to viewers is that, I was talking to Glenn there, and you guys do video highlight packages too. So any player that was at that camp, reach out to myself or to anybody at ASTV there, and they can put together some highlight packages from that showcase for a nominal fee. And again, I can't stress it enough. As a player, if you're going to market yourself, you need a professional highlight video package.
Last question before we go to break, Wayne. You shook a lot of hands giving out the MVP awards to each game. How important is the handshake these days when it comes to approaching a new club or getting to see someone or meet someone for the first time? You don't want to go in as a soggy fish. You want to go in there direct and confident and be thankful for the job well done.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's what it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of these kids that, had a great game there and stuff. And I was really impressed by the professionalism of these kids and, not only how appreciative they were of the MVP award and stuff and the Trailblazer package we put together, but, they all seem to be very good at marketing themselves. And, they would express to me that they're looking for an opportunity and, how can we maybe help them and stuff. And again, these kids are such great kids and stuff. And I go back to where, myself and Nevin and all the Trailblazers here, we believe that hockey is such a great educational tool for much, much more reasons than being great hockey players. It's going to make these kids great citizens, great employees. And certainly I've seen that a bit with all the kids I met.
Great camp. As always, Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp said and done. Obviously, more showcases and camps happening along the way. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Wayne. We're going to talk about the Western Conference, Western Province playoffs, and a special announcement happening for next Monday night, the next webinar. We'll be right back here on the Ice Waynesville edition. Back with Wayne Kosior here on the Ice, Wayne's World Edition. Wayne, because I missed you last week, we missed a lot of playoff catch-up, but let's start right in the middle with Saskatchewan. Thankfully, I don't know if it's thankfully, but it's kind of weird because there's going to be two Manitoba teams representing in the Centennial Cup in Estevan, but it's Estevan and Flin Flon that we know for sure heading in. And we also hear that the Red Lake Miners from the SIJHL have joined the party. I don't want to call it an upset against the Cam River Fighting Walleye, but certainly a good battle tilt there in the Northwestern Ontario region. Touch to us on the SI and how Flin Flon was able to sneak by and get into this big dance.
Well, in the SJ, I mean, Flin Flon gets in by default, I guess, because they finished second place and Estevan is the host city, so they get in. So that was a good part going into the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League final, as both teams knew they'd get in. But they didn't take that for granted. Both teams wanted that championship, and it went to 7 games. Went to Game 7 in Estevan, and home ice paid off for the Bruins, and they won 2-0 in Game 7, and a big shutout by Boston below us, a former longtime WHLer with the Moose Jaw Warriors and the Prince Albert Raiders. So, I've said it before, if you want to win championships, you got to have a championship-type goalie, and certainly Boston below us provides that in Estevan.
Let's go a little bit more west. The AJHL, wrapping up sort of. Give us some feedback on what you've seen happening in the province of Alberta.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but it was a foregone conclusion from the day the puck was dropped day one that, Brooks was going to win that championship. And, I think it actually hurts the Alberta Junior Hockey League that situation exists there and stuff. So they basically won in 5 games against Spruce Grove. Surprisingly, Spruce Grove won the first game in Brooks. And I guess, it's probably the typical case where Brooks took them too lightly and stuff. And then they went on to win the next 4 games and stuff. So Brooks is going to be strong. I think they were ranked number 1 or close to number 1, through most of the year and stuff. They're a powerhouse. They recruit players from right across Canada, and, they're going to be tough to beat. And, I'm really interested to see how the Estevans, the Flin Flons, and whoever comes out of the MJ out of Game 7 here on Wednesday is going to compete against a team like Brooks.
Absolutely. And in Manitoba, we have the Dauphin Kings and the Steinbach Pistons battling it out. I kind of saw this going 7 games, 6-7 games, and thankfully it is. My boy Darnell Duff making the call on Wednesday, like you said, with for the Kings. It's going to be a great show. Two teams, a lot of veterans, a lot of high scoring. But what's going to be the difference maker for one of those teams to break out and win Game 7 and head to Estevan in a couple of weeks?
Well, I'm going to go back to the same thing I said in the Estevan Flin Flon series is number one, home ice advantage is going to be big. So that's going to be in Steinbach's favor. And number two, it's going to be goaltending. So whoever comes up, best in the goaltending in that Game 7 is probably going to play a critical role and see who goes on to the Centennial Cup. So it's going to be a dandy. I look forward to tuning into a little bit of that on Hockey TV and hearing the call. And like I say, whoever comes out of there is going to be a heck of a team, and it's going to be a strong competitor at the Centennial Cup for Manitoba.
Unfortunately, if we go one sort of rank higher, the Western Hockey League, the season is finished for the Prince Albert Raiders. They've hit a really hard team, Winnipeg Ice. And certainly Moose Jaw's finding out how strong Winnipeg is as well, not having much luck with them in the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. And so don't say I didn't tell you so, but I said that it's going to be probably Edmonton and Winnipeg in that final. I mean, those are two powerhouses. They built and traded to build the teams that they have. They are definitely above the rest of the class. I mean, Winnipeg just pounded Moose Jaw. A lot of teams thought that Moose Jaw would give them a bit of a battle. And, I still think they might win a game or something, just like the Raiders did. But again, that Winnipeg Ice team is powerful, and the offensive weapons that they have can come at you line after line after line. It's pretty hard to match up and shut them down because all four lines can score, and they got, some amazing offensive defensemen as well as some strong defensive defensemen. So again, the Ice are incredibly strong.
It's incredible how you see one who's just around 5'10", and that's Savoy, do what he does with the puck. And then you see the combined athleticism and size of Connor Geekie. And then you see the first-round draft pick, Carson Lambos, in the back end. And Zach, don't forget about Zach Benson. I mean, and the veterans that are on that Ice team truly built for success and for that long run. I look forward to seeing how those three potential first-round draft picks this upcoming year, or in a couple of years, two this year, one next, go up against the veterans in Edmonton if that does happen. That'll be a good one in their defensive side. Last but not least, we have a little extended Wayne's World Edition. We have a big announcement coming up here. Next Monday night, our next webinar series, Wayne, give us the details on how you were able to contact this gentleman and get him to help you out here with Trailblazer Hockey.
Well, you know what they always say is hockey and life is all about connections and stuff. So, Ted Donato is going to be our guest on Monday, May the 16th on our Trailblazer webinar. And Ted and our Chief Operating Officer, Nevin Marquardt, played together for the Boston Bruins in the 80s. And so that's the connection that Nevin had. And Nevin was back in Boston recently. He's got a home there, and his daughter still attends NCAA college there on the tennis team. He was watching some tennis, and so he got together for a coffee with Ted, and we were talking about some, college hockey stuff and getting him some players. And certainly Ted Donato said he really wants us to fly in him a Western Canada player to play for the Crimson, and so we're excited about that, and led into some discussions about that. Ted would love to be one of our speakers and speak to some of our audience and our players, and so we just couldn't be more excited to have probably one of, if not the most recognizable NCAA Division I head coaches in all of hockey. So that's going to be a good one. Ted's going to talk about a story from. He was raised in the Boston area. Eventually went through school there, went on to play Harvard, was a big star for the Harvard Crimson himself, went on to play for the Boston Bruins and a number of NHL teams, and then went back to his alma mater, Harvard, and became coach there. Been there 17 years now, had a couple of sons that played elite hockey. He's got one son, Ryan, plays in the NHL now. So it's quite an amazing story. And so Ted's going to talk about his pathway that he went along as he traveled that journey to such great success. So going to be pretty special.
Certainly look forward to Monday night, Wayne. It's going to be a great chat, hearing the ideas, the perspectives, and the philosophy from a Division I coach is so important these days. A big deal when it comes to making your decision for that next round. Looking forward to that conversation. Wayne Kosior here. This edition of Wayne's World on the Ice. I want to thank you for joining me. As always, anything else you'd like to say, Wayne, before we say goodbye?
No, I don't think so. But I just think if anybody watching here would like to attend that webinar, we are going to open it up to the public. It is limited to the first 500 people that register. You can check it out on our social media feeds on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Or you can contact me directly at Wayne at Trailblazer Hockey, and I can send you a registration link if you're interested.
Wayne Kosior, great chatting with you. I missed you last week, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Thule. Let's get together again next week and chat hockey.
Well, it sounds good. Thanks you, Wayne Kosior. This has been our edition of On the Ice. As always, I'd like to thank Wayne for joining us. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Doak Spoke Fuels, Case Financial Group, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and of course, Toby Hockey. We'll be back on Thursday, we hope, with a good friend of ours, Courage Bear with the ISA. We're going to talk about how that camp is going to start up another camp this week at their facility in Saskatchewan, as well as some players that are going around and looking to find homes in the ISA program. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for everyone that's tuned in. Always on the ASTV, bringing more goodness to the greatness. Take care of your friends, take care of your families, and of course, take care of that flood water that's around. The nasty bug caught me too. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.